everybody, and welcome to WCFL DolFans Talk. I hope everyone's having a good time out there, and thank you for joining us. Yeah, it looks like my camera's a little bit on a delay. Of course, I'll bring all my hosts and co-hosts and special guests on, and I'll jump out and try jumping back in and see if that's anybody any better. But for right now, let's bring on Mr. Dolphin Winters.
What's going on, everybody? What's up, Papa Paul? How you feeling today, brother?
I'm doing good. I'm above ground and upright. That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
Amen to that. Correct.
Mr. John O'Hanlon, how you doing, my brother?
What's up, guys? How are you?
What's going on, John? How you feeling, brother?
Can't complain. 1 week till we find out the schedule and we can all start making plans.
Man, that sucks, man. I was looking forward to tomorrow, bro. I am not going to sit here and lie to you. I was like, tomorrow, the schedule's going to come out, and then I got hit with the bum like everybody else. May 15th.
Boo. Yep. That definitely does suck.
Paul, should we bring in our special guest, man? You think I should give him I think I should give him a nice announcement. He's a good guy and everything.
Yeah, go for it. You start off, and I'll bring him on.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have another beautiful special guest with us. He's from the tri-state area, and this guy is a ton of fun. Got a chance to hang out with him at the Phillies Invasion this year. He is also a part of DolphinTalks.com. He also does work with Stephen D. and also Mike Olivia. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Jason Sarney.
Gentlemen, how are we doing? And thank you for having me. Oh, what a tease with the schedule. I thought we were going to get our travel plans all according Johnny O tomorrow. Come on.
Absolutely.
The NFL don't care about our travel plans.
Not at all.
Us Northeasterners, we need to know when we travel. We got to get these plans down. But next week. Thank you guys for having me. I can't wait to talk some football with you.
Oh, man.
Good to see you, Jason.
Thanks, great to have you here, Jason. Paul, you going back in and coming out, or?
Yeah, I'm trying to get everything posted to all the other sites.
You're good now. Now you're good.
Okay.
So whatever you did, you're caught up.
All good.
All right. So let's jump right into it, gentlemen. A week has gone by, and the Miami Dolphins have signed OBJ.
Yes.
Now, who would have thought that? Here's the question on the table: who would have thought it? Number one. Number two, does he help or does he hurt the Miami Dolphins this upcoming season?
I don't think he hurts unless off the field stuff gets in the way. Signing him for $3 million with 8.2 with incentives, I think is good. I would like to see a lot more contracts like that. He's not the same receiver he was, 2016, 18, 20, but he's a quality 3. He opens up the field. He makes the secondary have to be honest. If you're going to cover him with a linebacker, you better have somebody that can move or he's going to be wide open constantly. So, no, as a number 3, no, it's great. It adds depth. It adds veteran leadership for the two Washingtons to come in and maybe learn from. Route running, things like that, besides just Tyreek and Waddle. So now you got a guy who's been in the league for 10 years or whatever it is. So, he knows what the league is. So that helps with the young kids.
Yep.
Jason, what's your thoughts, Jason?
You said it with the money. Excellent money. Very, very economic. So it plays with that, low risk, high reward. I'm happy to pay the incentives because if they match the incentives, he had a heck of a year for number 3, So you pay that next year in the salary cap. So that's something to worry about in a good way. And last year, the Dolphins just did not have a viable number 3 receiver, of people returning not named Waddle and Hill. Braxton Berrios led them in targets from the receiver room per game at only 2.1. Last year, even in Baltimore, OBJ was getting 4.5 targets a game. And that's what you really would like for kind of a third option in that realm. So viable third option, excellent move. They got to work hard for it to not work at minimum. You know what I mean? So I think this is a very good, solid move. And of course, you mentioned it, Johnny. There's 2 other receivers brought in to battle and to really hopefully help out in a variety of ways in the Washington. So love it all the way and the upgrade overall.
Paul?
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think the money is the right. You can't go wrong really with that. I mean, no, he's not what he was back in 15, 16, 17 and all, but you know what? He's good enough to be that third receiver, and that's what he's getting paid for. And if he sticks to the game plan and everything goes well, he'll make his incentives, which will be a win-win for us.
Yep. If he hits those incentives, it means he had a good year.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you guys all said everything that needed to be said. You have to respect him on the field. I don't care how old he is. You still have to respect his skill set. He is a Super Bowl winning wide receiver, and he does help. He does help the core of the wide receiver, that room. Somebody mentioned that in there in the chat, that he just boosted that wide receiver room up a whole lot. You know, now from that we go to Waddle maybe holding out. You know, that's a hypothetical thing. I don't know. Like I sat there and was looking at Inside the NFL, and when it broke, I kind of sat there and was like, oh, you know. So how do we feel about that, though? You know,
To me, it's too early to be talking about that stuff. He's still under contract. If he wants to hold down, he's going to hold down. Whatever him and his agent have talked about and what they're going to do, what they're looking for. Does he deserve Tyreek money? No. Does he deserve good money? Yes.
I mean, you got to look at he's the first rookie that's had 3 years of 1,000+ yards for Miami in a long, long time.
Right. No, I mean he does deserve money, but not Tyreek money. You can't be paying him $30 million a year.
No, I agree with you. I'd like to shout out to Mr. Polk, Crazy Dolphin, Raphael Courtright, Hooked Up Joe, you know, all for joining us from YouTube. And by the way, we're over 1,700 subscribers on YouTube. Everything's going well.
thank you, everybody. We appreciate that.
Thank you, everyone watching us on Twitter and other places, Instagram as well. And if you have any questions, throw them out there. We'll do the best we can to answer them.
Absolutely. Jason, what you think?
A lot of receivers, all the receivers are getting paid, and you'd assume that they fall in line, the Dolphins, with Waddle. I think that's going to happen eventually. I agree with you, Johnny O. Now might not be the time. I think that if there's a list of things you got to kind of check off, Tua is ahead of that list just from the chronological aspects of it, because, you know, those things go together. Chris Greer is going to pay premium money and retain the premium positions. Now, not necessarily was that Christian Wilkins. He let that walk because he's going to pay for quarterbacks, wide receivers, cornerbacks, and pass rushers, all things that factor immediately into the passing game. They're going to retain Waddle because you have to keep that bridge from Hill, who's your 1, Waddle's your 1A, and Waddle's eventually going to be your supreme 1. And they're going to be looking again for a Waddle, I guess, a 1B, a 1A, what have you. But there's time for that. So it'll happen. I don't think it's something to worry about, but this is not something that Chris Greer should say, you know what, Jalen, why don't you go bet on yourself? Because Papa Paul, as you mentioned, you know, that's no easy shakes in Miami for a receiver to get 3 straight 1,000-yard years. And he's also, you know, in a very, very small group of people to get the amount of receptions that he has so quickly in his career. You know, so definitely a guy you retain, and an unbelievable, not just what he could do on the field. He's just kind of the aura you want about this kid. He's just a good player, a good person. You love the way he just brings that light of him. So I think it'll be taken care of. You know, obviously it could be a little, you know, contentious if it gets a little closer, because every receiver is getting paid, especially that in his draft class. So Tua, Waddle, but it'll come.
Well, like Mr. Polk said, he wants to see Waddle get better with his hands catching the ball. Well, the thing I know people talked about last year before the season started is Waddle seemed like he was jumping at every ball to catch it. And I did see him working on that at training camp, but it seemed like once season started, he started jumping again quite a bit.
Well, I'll say this, and I will say this to you on that, Paul. And I remember being at the New England game, and I was at the Carolina game with you and all the home games with you and everybody on the panel. I can tell you this. I won't blame Waddle for jumping for some of those footballs because some of those footballs were definitely out of his range, and he had to jump for some of those footballs.
Oh, yeah. No, he had – I know the year before, last year wasn't bad at all, really. But and he did have to jump for quite a few of those balls. I agree with you. But like the year before, I mean, balls that were – he was jumping to catch them down in the sack more, in the gut, when he could have just caught them with his hands up, head high or something.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'll say this. I'm surprised he recovered the way he did after the New England game, the New England game away game, because when Tua threw that ball, that was a Tua issue. That was a Tua's fault. That was a Waddle, and I can't even. And here's the thing: even when the defender made the play on it, and it was a helmet-to-helmet play, it was hard for the defender also. So I can't really blame the defender because the defender was trying his hardest not to target him. It just happened that way. Just because of the way he went up, then he started coming down. The defender's coming down. You can't stop at a certain speed. So what happens? Collision, blow, and he hit him just so coincidentally. He hit him helmet to helmet. So I understand Waddle definitely wants money. He came into last season actually injured with a oblique or a core injury last season, and he really was never 100% this whole season. Period. I'm not making excuses for him, but do you think he deserves Devonta Smith money? Maybe. Well, I won't say yes and I won't say no.
And that's something I was going to bring up is the fact he got 1,000 yards this past year and was injured quite a bit.
Right.
That's saying something for him.
He was hurt. I don't know if he was injured, but he was hurt.
He was definitely hurt.
You play hurt. You don't play when you're injured.
Depending on who you are, too.
Oh,
it's a good point, though. Go ahead, Johnny.
That's how most coaches look at it. When a guy says, "Hey, this hurt," is it hurt or is it injured?
It's the old program. It's from the movie The Program. Yep. What's the difference? Well, if you're hurt, you can play. If you're injured, you can't. And to Waddle, he played banged up. Now, I think he got a lot of. We love touchdowns. We love home runs in baseball. And if people don't see necessarily those stats, I feel like a season could be skewed. But while Waddle, I think, still needs to improve on his hand catching and not body catching, he lessened the drops. He bulked himself up and got a little bit, aggressive after the catch. He broke a couple more tackles. So he's adapting. And I think there's still his best football yet to be played. So that's where I think that's coming in for what his valuation is he might believe, and I agree with him, that his first 3 years are really, really good 3 years, but the next 4 or 6, we haven't seen peak premium Jalen Waddle yet because he's a guy that could garner 150, 170 targets a season. So with Hill, that takes production, but I get it. But I do like his progression. If he could just put everything together, he's a bona fide one playing with another one.
Oh, absolutely. And he's coming into his prime years. Right. Most athletes, your prime years are 25 to 30. That's when mentally you catch up to where you are physically. Physically, you catch up to where you are mentally. That's why most sports, your athletes, 25 to 30 is their prime years.
Fully agreed. And it's a good continuity setting up 5 more, 6 more, whatever years, of just knowing from this point on through 2 lifebloods of contracts, Tua and Waddle, they're going to have a decade plus together as teammates going back to Alabama. The value of that is tremendous.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, honestly, if they're gonna sign Waddle, I would like to see him do like a 6-year contract. Keep him here till he's 30.
Yeah. I could see that with Waddle, yes.
No problem with that because it keeps that bona fide number 1. And then with a little luck, maybe a Malik Washington stays as the slot, but it's such a good slot where you become that next Jarvis Landry. But that's ambitious. But yes, you need, if you're going to sign a quarterback, for 5 years, 4 years, you got to know that for every single one of those contracted years, he's got his favorite target. And this is such an easy situation to not screw up. I can't imagine. I can't imagine this particular duo not being locked up until 2029, where money is going to be ridiculous in terms of a salary cap.
No, I agree. I mean, if you're going to give Tua whatever it's going to be 4 or 5 years, you got to give Waddle at least that. Like I said, I'd like to see 6 years. What is he, 24 now? 23, 24? Give him until he's 29, 30. Get him under contract now.
He'll be 25 halfway through. He'll be 26 halfway through the season, I believe. So,
he's 25.
Perfect. Right.
He's hitting his prime. Give him that 6-year deal. He's here till he's 30, 31.
Beautiful.
And you give him the stability of knowing, hey, I signed for $25 million a year, 6 years. I'm going to be here.
Paul, you got anything to say on it?
No, I agree 100% with what everyone's saying on that. I mean, I love Waddle. I think he's great. All we got to do, O'Hanlon's saying, wait and see.
Yep.
And I actually like that idea. You try to lock them both up. You lock them up for 5 to 6 years, just like O'Hanlon said, Mr. O'Hanlon said. You lock them up for that long time. You lock them up. So you got a core of the team locked up for a bit. You're trying to have Tyreek also here because Tyreek said he wants to retire a Miami Dolphin. So, try to work something out with Tyreek. I think these gentlemen understand that they want to really stay together because they know it's something special here. And they really want to make this happen. They really want to make this work and bring not just one Super Bowl, but maybe a couple Super Bowls here to Miami. So with that being said, we're going into contracts. We might as well talk about the elephant in the room. There's been talks right now, and that contract talks with Tua and the Miami Dolphins are going on right now. So, with that being said, do they get the deal done before training camp, or do you think they'll have to play this out or wait until the end of the season?
That's one of those ones. I mean, if they're in contract negotiations, it depends on how far apart they are. Mm-hmm. What is Tua looking for? What's the team willing to spend? Because obviously Tua is going to go high. The team's going to go a little lower. Then they're going to hope the team is hoping, all right, maybe at 45, 48 a year. That's what he'll settle on that. Tua's going to ask for 58 or 60 and maybe come down to 50, 48. So it just depends on, how the negotiations go. And none of us are privy to that. So we just have to wait and see.
Yeah. Yeah, you all heard my opinion on that before. I'd rather wait till after the season's over with to give him a contract.
Jason, what's your thoughts?
I do think it's going to happen. Sorry for the big range from the taping of this podcast till week 1. Before that. And why I say that is because it could happen tomorrow and everyone will be like, well, yep, everyone saw it coming. Or it could happen right when it would be really great news, right when training camp starts. Because then the elephant's gone. There's no elephant in the room contractually. And you have 5th-year options picked up. You have your quarterback locked up. You got no Christian Wilkins or Connor Williams situation on sideline holdouts or whatever. You literally have no drama if you enter training camp with a quarterback locked up whose Alabama teammate is pretty much next in line, and it's academic at that point. So with limited drama going into a time that is so important in training camp, that would probably be my sweet spot, maybe a week or so before, but I will stick to it's going to happen. Gun to head, it will happen probably a little before training camp.
Yeah, I think most of us believe it would happen. I, for one, am like Papa Paul. I would rather just see him play on his 5th-year option, franchise him next year if you have to at 43, 45, whatever it is. I don't think they'll do that. I think they're going to give him the 4 or 5 year contract at somewhere in the neighborhood of $50 million a year because, listen, Justin Herbert got that, and he ain't done shit.
And you look back at history, and the greatest – look, if there's a Hall of Fame of agents – the number 1 agent in the history of the world is Kirk Cousins. I'll go back to Kirk Cousins. look at what this man has gotten paid
Yeah.
just because sometimes in life, in football, a franchise needs to take care of the quarterback. So it doesn't really matter who, it's the. And Tua is much, much more than the. If Kirk Cousins can get those contracts and however it worked out, forget it. But the Dolphins need to lock Tua up because it's just the right thing and the safe thing to do, regardless of all the other years of injury, whatever. This was their investment. It's their number one pick from 2020. They knew they wanted it from day one. And I'm not even a Tua stan. I'm just a guy that wants him to succeed. And we all better hope that he succeeds, or else we're set back 3, 4, 5 more years. So I think that they've gotten all the pieces almost to an extent where there was one year where there was no excuse for Ryan Tannehill. There's no excuse now for Tua for the lifeblood of a contract with how they set things up potentially if you have Waddle go right into that number one when Hill retires, hopefully as a Dolphin. So the framework is set. My guess is it's, if it was like a Hollywood actor or an actress with a movie deal, the back end, what's the DVD percentages? What's this percentage? What's that? It's all back end nonsense mumbo jumbo. It's going to happen. It's just the last bits of it getting done.
Yeah, and other teams have stuck Miami in a hard position because, like I said, you get a guy like Justin Herbert who really hasn't done anything and gets awarded a huge contract. You get Kirk Cousins. Now, don't get me wrong. Kirk Cousins, over his career, is a pretty steady quarterback. He's not great, but he's not bad. Statistically, if you look at his years, they're pretty damn steady. He gives you numbers. Like it or not, he's not a bad number 2 fantasy quarterback if you like that stuff. So, Atlanta gave him a bag. Why? I don't know. And that plays a factor into it. Tua can walk into the office and say, look at what Atlanta gave Cousins. He's never won, a Super Bowl, and he's making $55 million a year.
Atlanta also drafted a first-round quarterback at number 9. Why?
Well, that's why Atlanta sucks. I mean, there's certain teams like Atlanta and the Jets, and they do things, and you're scratching your head, you're wondering why. But year after year, they suck, and that's why.
And that's what I'm getting at. You could also say that Atlanta ain't in the right frame of mind either. So why should we pay you?
I just didn't understand that move. I'm still kind of not thinking that move over in my head. You got Kirk Cousins, paid Kirk Cousins all this money, and then got Penix. Like, I'm still not understanding why did they do that? Like,
let me throw a scenario at you. Let's say week 7, week 8, Kirk Cousins goes down, and Penix has the preseason, training camp, preseason, the first 6, 7, 8 games to watch. Cousins goes down. This kid comes in and actually plays well. People are going to be saying, "Damn, Atlanta's a genius."
Okay, but
I'll tell you though, I can't believe that one organization would tick off a veteran quarterback who just was signed there and a rookie quarterback, because both players must be, why do you bring me in if you're going to draft him? Why would you draft me if you signed him? So you got 2 quarterbacks looking at the organization saying, like, do you want the other guy or you want me? What's going on? So this is a remarkable screw up. Unless what you said, John, is so right that they flip the quarterback, trade one of them, the other one does well, and everyone's gravy. But that's not gonna happen.
And just imagine
you can't say that's not gonna happen. Where did Favre start his career?
Atlanta.
And what happened? They traded him, and then he went on to have a great career. Green Bay drafts Rodgers and has him sit behind Favre for 4 or 5 years. Then they draft Love and have him sit behind Rodgers for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, Love was taken, 28th or whatever overall. He wasn't 8th or 9th, but he sat there for the next 4 or 5 years.
And learned. And you can see he learned.
That Green Bay is a remarkable quarterback continuity study of how you do it. I mean, when you look, if you literally go back 30 years, 3 quarterbacks, if you really want to think about it. And that is unbelievable. And if you want to go back more, Bart Starr had a long time there. So quarterback problems for certain organizations are non-existent. So Atlanta, not necessarily in that boat. And obviously lived in our own boat.
No, but I mean, I'm going to say it now. I'm hoping in Round 2 next year, Miami takes a quarterback.
I would have been. I'll tell you, a lot of people would have booed this just because of whatever. But I would have liked a quarterback like a Joe Milton from Tennessee drafted this year, just to have a big arm, a whatever competition for your third string, and have fun with the kid. Maybe convert him to a tight end here or there, or have some gadget plays for him. But next year, absolutely, you got to develop a quarterback. I mean, that's what Kirk Cousins was. If we're going to bring it back to Kirk Cousins, he was drafted 3 rounds later in the same draft from RG3. And look at what that turned into. That the Commanders, then Redskins, actually looked quasi right with drafting 2 quarterbacks. One of them was a rookie of the year. The other one went on to be who we've seen him be. But yeah, I would say fine with drafting a quarterback next year to develop 2-3 years, see if you can trade him, turn a stock into something better. God forbid, play a couple of spot starts, and you need insurance for a $50 million quarterback for sure.
Yes, you do. If you're going to sign him that kind of contract, you need somebody behind him who can step in when things happen. It's the NFL. Guys get hurt. They get injured. They get banged up. And we all know, listen, it takes one time where somebody's going to be near to his head or his head bounced under. They're sending him in that tent. They're not taking any chances.
Yep, that's for sure.
You want to drop the link? You want to drop the link, Paul?
Yeah, give me a minute. And that's, I think, exactly why John and I would like to see him play out this year and franchise tag him next year. You sign him to a big contract now. If you don't have the wording just right in that contract, we could be paying him for the next 5-6 years if he got injured this coming year and he's out for good.
The reason, and you're right in a normal scenario, what I think, and to tie back into all the ins and outs of the contract, years ago, before Chris Greer got rid of Mike Tannenbaum, or Mike Tannenbaum was fired or whatever, and it became Chris Greer and Brandon Shore doing the contracts. He's a brilliant contract drafter. All these back ends, all these years out, 3rd, 4th, 5th years, all these ways of getting around. It's almost like a great tax accountant, getting you out of these little loopholes or getting you with loopholes. That's what this team of Greer and Shore have done. So I think that, your contracts that were written up of the years past from other executives, they were very gaudy. They were very just, oh my God, this player's not going to work out. We're screwed for the next 2-3 years. That hit has been absorbed greatly with Brandon Shore. So the Tua contract is going to be very, very intricate with that build of years. Remember, the salary cap goes up, so you could see a structure that's like 30, 45, 56. You know what I mean? So things are going to average out. Look at the salary cap in 2027, what it's projected. It's like $300 million. So,
right. Ryan just posted something saying, why is everybody writing off Skyler? I personally am not writing off Skyler. I like him. My son-in-law happened to grow up with Skyler, so he knows the kid. They went to school together. My son-in-law is a couple years older than Skyler is, but they grew up in the same little town, Palmyra, Missouri, until Skyler moved out. So I like the kid. I'm not sure the Dolphins like him.
I like him too. I just feel like they don't love him. Like is not love, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I liked what I saw of him in the training camps I seen him in the last couple of years, and I like what I seen him in play. And, he's kept us in that Buffalo game, in that Buffalo playoff game.
First, I wanted to sit there and welcome. How you doing, Mr. Polk, a.k.a. Crazy Dolphin, to the show? What's going on, brother?
What's up,
Good
Mr.
evening,
Polk?
Papa Paul, Dolphin winner, John, and Jason. It's good to see you, Jason. Now, I just want to mention one thing about Skylar Thompson. Also, I got to be straight. I'm a Skylar Thompson fan also, because I watched them at Kansas State, and he to me, from watching the films and what have you, he was what I call a dual threat quarterback, because he can run and he can throw the ball. I was happy that from what I heard that McDaniels picked him out. But and I understand that Tua is the guy, but we need to sometimes put a little more uh, uh, development and plays that can show his talent, that can what's the word, develop him. Because to me, it's like we're wasting his talents. And I'm like I said, he's not on the same level as Tua. Yes, I agree. But this guy can be we have a potential future quarterback on our roster right now if we
Well,
if we develop him
I
some
kind
kind
of
of way.
agree with you. I just don't feel like the Dolphins are in love with the kid enough
Right.
to do that.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And it's not just with him, but with other players as well. But I'm not gonna get into that.
I want to welcome Hooked Up Joe to the show. What's going on tonight, Hooked Up Joe?
What's
What's
up,
up,
Joe?
Joe?
Not much. Just happy to join your Wednesday show and fins up. And yeah, I'm kind of on the Skyler thing, just to kind of pick up where he's been talking. Um, it's a little tough because we all like Skyler. A lot of us do. But if they didn't even pick him as the second backup last year, then he has to get to second. He has to get to second string before we can be talking about him more. So the hope is that I mean, if the best case scenario would be for us to feel good enough about our pickup on QB to be able to backfill our practice squad guy, because the person on the 53, and we're only going to have two quarterbacks on the 53 this year, probably because of the new rules. So we need a quarterback that's not going to get picked up by another team. And so the question is, can we really put Skyler on the practice squad, not have him picked up by another team? If not, is he going to make it to the 53? That's kind of the level he's got to be at. If he can't, if we feel like we can put him on the practice squad and he's not going to get picked up by any team in the 32 for their backup quarterback, then that kind of says something. But if we can get him to the second quarterback and get a guy that we feel like isn't going to get swiped off our practice squad, then I feel like Skyler's really made it to the next level.
Well, unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen just because of what
I
they're
don't
paying
either.
Mike White.
Right. But also too, I
Exactly.
don't think
That there's too much money in Mike White's like $3.5 million. I mean, you're not paying that to not roster it and have as your emergency. I mean, look, if I had my druthers, I'd cut him and save the money. I think you'd have to eat a couple, but you could save maybe 2.23 mil, 2.3 mil. And then to play your point, there you go. And to play your point, if we look, let's say hypothetically, look, this would be an amazing scenario, and I hate speculating and creating injury, but imagine if it's the preseason and a quarterback goes down where someone needs to bump someone up and trade for Mike White. But the Dolphins could do that, get a seventh conditionally, and then know Skyler's been playing and developing well enough. We like him to be the number two. To me, that could be an awesome scenario that's very unlikely, but I don't know that he's elevating himself to number two status with Mike White on the team. And he was nice. He was good. We love the story, but we got to see a little bit more. I like his play action passing, but that's to me his A aspect of his game. But there's a lot of C plus aspects to my game. A lot of work needs to be done, but he's got potential.
And to kind of piggyback on you a little bit, Jason, I'm gonna tell you the truth, I wouldn't see him stand on the practice squad. So I mean, I understand the scenario that y'all been explaining, but I really don't see him standing on the practice squad.
No, there's a team out there that definitely saw him play against Buffalo 2 years ago in a playoff game, and I believe would take him as a backup just to see what he can do, because you're going to get him very cheap, and that's why I say I think the Dolphins like him. They don't love him.
Right.
Is Mike White really something we want as a viable backup? I'm not comfortable with Mike White personally.
I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah. I just think it's too much money on the table for too little. And if you need him, it's too little. Like it's too much. The money's too much.
I totally agree.
Yeah, I'm with you on that hookup, Joe. If it was my choice, Skylar would be number two right now.
If you're talking just strictly, I mean, if you have to calculate every factor, you got to calculate the money, you have to calculate the player, and you have to calculate the available options, right?
Tell you what, I'll give you a hypothetical. You know, they need to clear 6-7 million to bring in a Justin Simmons, to bring in, Dalton Risner, a Van Rotten. If they need to clear money and Skylar's developing, I think the only player of good money that you could absorb a hit and not take a step backwards is Mike White, because you don't want to see your backup quarterback. You don't want to see it. The only thing you need him to do is kneel on the ball in a victory formation if you just don't want to send out Tua to do it, So hopefully it can be Skylar Thompson in a perfect world with a couple of other scenarios that could be played. But as long as Mike White is on this team, there's too much dollars to not have him as the two.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Well, if we knocked him out at $3.5 million and we put another $3.5 million and got Tannehill at $7 million, would you be happier with that? I'm throwing it out there.
I would be happy with
happier with Tannehill than Mike White.
I'd be happy with the entertainment it would provide on the socials, knowing that I never want to see Tannehill on the field because, again, you don't want to see your backup on the field.
You don't want to see White
ever. Exactly. But if we're getting strictly to football, yes, he'd be a better quarterback as a number two. Absolutely, Ryan Tannehill would be.
Even for another $3.5 million.
No, not at 6. Not at
you're asking me that. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh no. I'm sorry. I have to eat another $3.5 million. No. I'm sorry. Exactly. I thought we were saying if the money is equal. No, my bad, my mistake. But absolutely not. That goes against what I want to do. I want to save money for hitting on your 7th round quarterback, calling him a backup, thus saving on a guy like a White. But my mistake.
Does anybody know what our cap space is if we are over or above as far as our cap space goes right now?
Come June. Go ahead, Jason.
Come June 1st, we'll get the Xavier Howard money. So whatever we're at right now is nothing huge to worry about.
$3 million right now.
And is that prior to Odell? Or is that with Odell? Because we might be at literally $10,000 in the black. I'm not even kidding. They might have. This is what I go back to say about Brandon Shore. He's so freaking good at his job. It's like if you switch accountants and all of a sudden you're getting better tax returns, that's Brandon Shore. And once you get to June 1st, it's not that minuscule number. It's $18 million because it's the 17 plus 0.8 million, whatever it is, from Xavier Howard. And now, sorry to go back to Tua, if you do extend Tua in July, that $18 million could become 29 in cap space for 2024, which would mean probably another free agent would be on the way. You need to go into a season with $8 million for emergency money, rookies, all that good stuff. But they all of a sudden could have a ton of cap space going into the season. Jalen Waddle.
We might have to carry some of that over next year, though, because next year we could be hurting bad. So I'm thinking, we can't mortgage next year, necessarily. I mean, we got magic tricks and we have, the Mr. Wizard on GM there, but still, I mean, we have to look at the reality, of next year and whether we're going to really carry over.
I think next year they're going to be fine. And you got to remember you have 2 drafts in a row where nobody's on the team. So you're not worried about signing those guys because we just didn't have enough picks or the guys that we picked didn't pan out. So cap space next wise, I think we're going to be all right with whatever it increases by another $20-25 million. And then you got 2 draft classes in a row where we don't have to pick up 5th-year options. We don't have anybody that, we have to extend. So the capital is not as bad as people think if you actually look at the draft classes. This one coming up is the tough one because we have Holland, we have Waddle, and we have Phillips.
Right. It's funny that you mentioned it, John, because the next couple of draft classes, it's almost like those guys that you're paying were those years ahead. They planned ahead because they're putting all that money in those 3. Because the Javon Holland scenario is another one. You probably put him as the 3rd in the most important because he doesn't have that option. He could make more of a stink than anybody. because I mean, go ahead,
we could very easily lose Holland.
Very easily, and that is not a premium position for Chris Greer. Chris Greer could say, not in these many words, or go bet on yourself.
Yep.
He did that. And if Javon Holland has an Ed Reed type of a year, amazing. Say goodbye to him because someone's going to pay him, ridiculous money, and Greer's going to be like compensation pick.
You know who Holland's agent is? It's
athletes first.
Athletes first. Exactly.
They set the bar.
Once he picks athletes first as your agent, I'm sorry to say it, you should trade him. He's got 2 years on his contract. If we can get anything good for him, I mean, you don't know. I know that's not a popular decision there or proposition, but man, I mean, how many times are we going to end up on the bad end of a deal like that? I mean, are we going to get ahead of it?
It's the wrong agent to say, you know what, let's sign him for a 5-year extension. Give us a nice, juicy hometown. No, this is about being the top paid safety in the league.
Right. The player has to be hard-headed. Like, I think Tua is going to be pushing back on athletes first to a degree and saying, you know what, there's not a difference that's going to make me want to leave this team for $5 million. If it's a $5 million difference, I'm staying a year.
I agree.
Yeah, I think Tua, depending on how much guaranteed money he gets, and I think that's a big part of what's going to have Tua deciding is how much is guaranteed, so he could set his family up for generations.
But I don't think Holland's that way. I think Holland's going to take high. I think Holland's in the Wilkins category, and that's why I think we should trade him. As great as we think he is, I mean, that's my position on it.
But you can't trade him now. Then we have almost nothing at safety. I mean, you got Poyer, and that's about it.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
To speak about safety for a half a second.
Spot. Yeah,
safety is it's a fun segue because just today, there was a picture that the Dolphins website on Dolphins Twitter account put out of the safety group, supposedly, and it was Javon Holland, Jordan Poyer, Elijah Campbell, and Nick Needham. Now, Needham has been a bounty corner, a slot. He's played snaps at safety pretty much every year that he's played after his rookie year, at one snapper at least. This is potentially a full conversion to the safety room, which says a couple of things. Fun depth with Anthony Weaver, knowing that he likes to rotate a lot of safeties, a lot of defensive backs, sometimes 3 at a time. It also is saying, okay, Javon, you see, we already are working on backup plan. Not saying that Nick Needham is Javon Holland. If they bring in another free agent safety, that is also a tell that they might not spend top end dollar on Javon Holland. I hope that they do. And Hollywood, to your point, I never would endorse trading a player because he's leaving anyway, just to trade him because you're not going to get the value. You're just not. You're going to get a 4th rounder or a 5th rounder because no one's going to take the risk. So it's kind of a conundrum that they're in with Holland. That's my biggest worry, hookup, Joe, of those 3, of Holland, Tua, Waddle. I think the quarterback, receiver, they're going to be fine, but Holland I worry about.
Yeah, well, between Holland, Phillips, and Waddle, I think Holland's the odd man out.
Yeah. I mean, it goes into the formula. You're drafting a pass rusher and you're drafting a receiver first, then a pass rusher in the first round, knowing you're going to pick up their 5th option. They did. Knowing, why would you not keep those premium players, knowing that that's his formula? Is the pass friendly premium players, pass catchers, pass stoppers, those who throw it, those who stop the throw.
Hey, if Needham can move to safety, I think that's a great idea. I mean, listen, I like Needham playing when he's on the field. Before he got hurt, I thought he was playing fantastic. And if he can move to safety and pick that up, and that gives you insurance, Holland may end up walking.
Go. Night.
Even if it's, again, this is not I endorse Holland move. It's a good depth play. And if you're looking at Holland, Needham, and Poyer potentially all on the field at the same time in Weaver's, very exotic, fun defense where it could be like a 3-3-5 or a 3-2-6, something like that. He really rotates those DBs very well. And with Needham's experience to kind of do a lot of things really nicely, that's to me a safety. Kind of go inside the box, play a little bit of that nickel safety. He could He could be a little bit of a presence at the line of scrimmage, get to the quarterback, and he's gonna, with a pass rush and good lockdown corners, there is one person or two people that could eat with interceptions. One of them is going to be your safety. The other could be just a lucky linebacker with getting some pass deflections and just quarterbacks just getting rid of the ball so quickly. The second level is getting a quick pick. We're going to see Needham with probably a lot of picks and maybe a touchdown this year again. He got that Nick 6 as a safety against the Saints back in 2021. He was playing safety, and guess who pass deflected the ball? Andrew Van Ginkel that game. But
well, something else I want to bring up is something that Mostert was talking about in one of the articles is our new running back that we picked up. He was talking about, could you see 3 running backs in the backfield with 2 wide receivers or 3 running backs, a tight end, and a wide receiver? That would really confuse the hell out of some defensive line.
Well, that's gonna confuse the defensive coordinator because nobody runs 3 running backs.
I understand that, but that's what Mostert was bringing up. And look, as we've seen, McDaniels doesn't do anything like any other coach. So anything's possible.
Paul, when you say run 3 cornerback, you talking about in rotation?
No,
in the
3
same,
running backs. 3 running backs.
Same backfield?
It's almost like setting up like a power option from a collegiate offense, but with speed. I would love for them to do that just to like throw people off and just do a traditional run, just to mess with people, throw some motion in there. I mean, that's not going to be the offense. They're not going to be a 3-back, whatever offense, but to throw that intricacy in there, any way you slice it, it's very intriguing.
Yeah.
What's
up, Shake Money?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? How y'all doing, man?
Good. Paul, what was you saying,
Thank you
Paul?
for joining us. This is what Mostert had brung up, is about running a 3-man backfield. So it has
because they can catch too.
Yes, all 3 of them can catch, and they all 3 have substantial speed. So I mean, you have them 3 in the backfield. You put Waddle and Hill on the wide receiver slots on either side. There isn't going to be a defense that's going to know which way that ball is going to be going.
So they're going to run 3 running. You have a 3 running back set. Could the 3rd running back be Tua?
No.
Uh-oh.
Here comes
okay, Shake.
Exactly.
I got your spoon for you, Shake.
Tua doesn't run the quarterback sneak. After the back-breaking quarterback sneak, the last quarterback sneak Tua ran, he got bent backwards in that Buffalo game. It was, and that was it. That was the last one ever. So he won't be running back.
Another question I want to ask up. There's talk about Miami should go after who is it? Reisner? Guard.
Yeah, Don Reisner.
Yeah.
The DB out there, they rumored about going after also.
What's y'all's thought on that?
You talking about? I think he's pretty good, but with that, I think Mr. Puck is right. The safety from Denver, that safety from Denver. You talking about?
Justin Simmons.
Right.
Yeah,
that's the one I'm hearing a lot of.
If they bring in Justin Simmons, as mentioned, it could be a very big tell, again, what you might have in a future of Javon Holland. Now, rotational, yes, now to play with him in 2024, but you're bringing a guy like Simmons, doesn't necessarily say you're going to keep Holland. But I would immediately endorse bringing in Simmons because he's a hell of a player and he could fit right into that Weaver system. And all of a sudden, your depth at the secondary overall is massive. Last year, when people wanted Risner, I feel like the talk was system, was McDaniel's system. Although Butch Barry was the coach from Denver, I know that. But what McDaniel necessarily wanted to do didn't necessarily fall into his strengths. But I think that he's a player that could probably just adapt to it at this point. We need a right guard. I'm not comfortable with Liam Eichenberg penciled in at anything, even the 9th offensive lineman, to be quite honest with you. Listen, I'll be happy to be critical of a player. I'm not the biggest orange aqua glasses guy for everyone. Sometimes I just don't talk about a player, but I will not be comfortable with Liam Eichenberg starting week 1 at right guard.
Well, there's a lot of talk that this is probably his last year with the Dolphins.
Fine.
That's fine with me. I don't see nothing wrong with that. There was a couple other players I forget, but that was the one that stood out to me. I was like, he hasn't been super great at any one thing, really. You know, we could afford to let him go and pick someone else who'd be better.
That was a miss. That was a Greer trade up miss. He hasn't done great in trading up in selections after those trades or draft day trades, Greer, but that was a big miss.
Well, they're not going to hit on all their picks. I mean, unfortunately, it's just not feasible. No GM hits on every pick. There's guys that get picked, that get cut, don't right on the training camp. You know, they just don't make it. They look great in college. They get to the pros. It's faster. It's stronger. They just don't make it.
Curtis Weaver, Boise State, drafted in the 2020 class, and not only did he not make it, he just didn't get picked up. Just didn't happen for him. Happens.
Deion Jordan.
That's a much more expensive and hurtful example, but absolutely.
Raphael is asking about Tyndall and Good.
I think Tyndall's time is about up. As much as I like him, I think his time is about up. Because
if you're a speed, go ahead.
Seems like to me he hasn't made that. I mean, it's been hard to make that adjustment because we had different defensive coaches come in, but he hasn't made that leap to me yet. So maybe if he go to Minnesota, maybe Flores can do something with him. I don't know.
His game was speed, you know, but he's not translated that speed into NFL success as a linebacker. You know what I mean? So if you're a one-trick pony with speed, you can't translate that to sideline, good tackling ability and coverage. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
I mean, because
unfortunately
he's an inside linebacker, and with Cameron Good, he's a good outside linebacker. So.
Yeah, I was talking Tyndall with the speed. Good. These guys just haven't developed, but Tyndall was a much higher investment as a third rounder.
Right.
Good, a 7th, so you could just say whatever. You know, but Tyndall, again, looking like a miss, unfortunately. And as you said, Johnny, they're not always going to hit. There you
go.
But sometimes, you know, misses could be a lot louder than, oh, remember he hit in the 5th round. He hit in the 4th. Oh, but remember that 2nd round miss?
Well, Ali the Persian.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Shay.
Tyndall, if I'm not mistaken, was McDaniel's very first pick, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Who said Shake?
That was the first pick in 2022. Yeah.
The bad Saul is on my wife's shoulder.
That was the second one in like what? Couple minutes, right?
Yes.
What was that you said, Shake?
I said Tyndall. Yeah, it was funny. Is Channing Tyndall was McDaniel's very first pick as a head coach.
Well, Ali the Persian is asking about Eazy-E, and I think this is possibly could be his last year unless he does something spectacular.
Well, he may not make the team. If either one of these Washingtons pan out, Eazy-E won't even be on the team.
I was about to say the same thing.
There's 3 guys that are probably going to not sleep during the summer. It's Eazy-E, River Craycraft, and Braxton Berrios. And the reason why I say that is we love these kind of guys as Dolphin fans. We do. But Craycraft loved the story. Journeyman practice squad guy finds his place with the Dolphins with McDaniel, but he's going in as number 9, number 8. The guy looks like know this, you know. Berrios is a guy who could be outplayed by both rookies, OBJ and maybe Eazy-E, because Eazy-E could have more talent, but he just can't see the field. He's only had 1 target last year if he played 1 game, you know. So big problems with those 3rd, 4th picks lately, those round picks. But what can you do?
And they're
And
more
you got
about the
Braylon
roster.
Sanders, you got Anthony Schwartz, you got developmental guys too who might make a name for themselves in camp. Sanders is definitely a guy to keep your name to keep a watch on.
Yeah,
You
but
said
and the
Sanders.
thing with Easy E, no matter how talented you are with Easy E, that neck injury is
Mhm.
probably one of the most derailing injuries you could get.
Agreed. It's unfortunate.
So we still have Braylon Sanders.
I believe him and Anthony Schwartz, and there might be another one on the. What's his name? I'm forgetting, but yeah, I think there are two. Their futures are still rostered players.
I, don't get me wrong for saying that. I kind of hope we keep a big wide receiver on our roster some kind of way.
Well, we can hope that, but it doesn't seem to fit McDaniel's system. So
he's. It's like if he was a basketball coach, 4 guards and 1 big.
yep.
You don't care. We're gonna get out rebounded. We'll run you to death. We don't care. You don't care.
Right, our draft pick's halfway to Brooks, and that's about
Raphael,
big.
Raphael says Freddie Swain. I don't know. I thought we got rid of.
I don't think
Freddie
we have him on the roster anymore. I don't think he's
Right.
around.
Yeah, I don't think he's there
Swain.
either.
He's gone.
No.
I think
It's
we got rid of him last season.
well, I think
Thank you, Joe. Thank you. That's it. It's Sexton.
Sexton.
Okay, that's the other wide receiver. Y'all talking about.
I mean, we got a ton of speed on this team, and I just see a lot of things going on. Jason, who out of the UDFAs do you think makes it? Any thoughts on Storm Duck?
Oh, that's right.
The best name. He was my second favorite name in all the draft. My first favorite name was Steel Chambers from Ohio State. But anyway, Storm Duck. I think he's got a tough way to make the team because there's a lot of corners. He's a corner. Can he play a versatile area? Can he play slot corner? Can he do other things? You have a lot of guys there. He would have a tough path. Practice squad player. Would he be protected? I think he's got a tough. Mark Perry. Raphael, you took the name right out of my mouth. TCU safety Mark Perry. If you're looking at the safeties, I like him to, ready for this, maybe be a better player than the kid they drafted, Patrick McMorris from California. I really like Mark Perry. He can play nickel safety. He can play tough at the line of scrimmage. Big time hitter. Almost like if you want to think what kind of like a Jeremiah Bell kind of hitter. So I really like him. Matthew Jones is a guy who can maybe be your Robert Jones undrafted free agent story, kind of get on the team and just stick around and be plugged in when needed. They got a tight end in Hayden Ruckey, who was a Wisconsin Badger tight end, who is a good blocker, but his receiving skills was not really displayed in college. He led the team of tight ends with 11 catches, which and won a game doesn't really say that they, feature the tight end. So I'll be curious to see if this rookie could develop into an overall versatile tight end developmental project, not as fast as Tanner Connor, but could be a better tight end product than him. There might be one or two more if you're looking at
UCLA.
That was Gabriel Murphy. Not Murphy. What's his last name? He had a twin. Grayson Murphy.
Grayson.
Yeah, he not the best motor. He's I don't want to use the word lazy, but he doesn't play up to speed, which I think is why he didn't get drafted. But he's a project. He could develop potentially. I don't think he'll get taken from the practice squad. He's a practice squad eligible player. I don't think he can make the team. But if I had to pick one guy to make the team, out of necessity, it'll be Matthew Jones because he's a right guard. He can play guard, and we need that. And then Mark Perry if he beats out McMorris.
Well, I already have a shirt designed up if Storm Duck makes the team. He's going to be standing over a player that he just tackled, and it's going to say, "You've been ducked."
The quarterback from UTEP. Here's the problem. He's got a big arm, not accurate, but that arm is Tommy John surgically repaired. So again, if you're a one-trick pony and you have a major problem with that pony, I'd be looking elsewhere. But I hope the kid proves me wrong. But if you are a big-armed quarterback who just got that arm prepared and you're not accurate, I don't see a road.
Yeah, and there's a problem if your quarterback is getting Tommy John surgery because that's 90%, 95% of the time that's baseball because of the angle that their arm moves and throws. So if your quarterback has that, there's something wrong with his form and the way he's bringing his arm up and coming through.
And now that we spoke about UTEP, I don't want to forget about it. Andrew Myers, an offensive lineman who played for UTEP. This kid could play, center. He was a center for UTEP. And listen, who's not been waiting for a center? If you're a Dolphin, to find a 10-year generational center. With the Dolphins, we've had Mike Pouncey, we've had Tim Ruddy, we've had Dwight Stevenson, Jim Langer. Who is the next guy? So they don't have a purebred center. They have Aaron Brewer, who can play 2 guard spots, and they had Connor Williams, who was a left guard. Don't have a center.
Okay, Jason, what's your thought on Patrick Paul?
I like the kid. He's not a project. He's a developmental Power 5 Big 12 conference player with 35 collegiate starts. So I don't want to call him a project. He needs to work on his hands, needs to work on a little bit of that quick footwork twitch off of the speedy edge rushers. If he could just plan and anchor a little bit better. He's got the reach and the arms, the wingspan to kind of make up for any small deficiencies in fundamentals or footwork. I think he could be a very, very fine at worst pick starting next year. But if he throws himself in an emergency for Teron Armstead and immediately performs, oh man, this is the pick that could define the draft this year.
Yeah, because I'm telling you, Send is still my concern as far as our team goes.
Question: how much more speed could we have if a Chan is flexed out or in the slot, but we couldn't convert first downs? To not get 10 yards is uncivilized.
Oh, Jason.
That question there to me is the plays themselves. I mean, these are the plays that we've talked about before where they're pitching the ball back. The running back is running 10 yards, but only gaining 3 positive yards.
We've seen that in person a few times.
Yeah, because the ball is getting pitched back 5 to 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly right. That's been my biggest problem with when some of these creative calls and usage of the speed guys are used. When it's 3rd and 1, you cannot give the ball to a runner 5 yards south of the line of scrimmage. That means you now have 6 yards to get a chain length measure for a first down. So I don't want to see those speed plays on 3rd and inches. You know what? You get a nice plus play on first down where it's 2nd and short. Fine. Throw a play in there where if you get stopped, you're dealing with a 3rd and medium at a loss, and you can just pick it right back up. So, yeah, I love when they could do that. And if Achane runs out to the slot on first down, 2nd down, and it works, and it could be a big play, and then all of a sudden you're on your territory about to score, plus territory, great. But please don't do it when you need. Don't throw a screen. A screen, too, I'm talking to. Don't throw a screen 3 yards below the line of scrimmage when you need 1 yard. Throw it 1 yard above the line.
He said that's what he was just reiterating. He was talking strictly passing. And that's the same thing. We were doing the screens that were 3 to 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and we're only making 1 or 2 yards altogether. The players are running 5 and 6 yards. We're only getting 1 or 2 yards total gain.
But see,
it doesn't work like that.
But this is where Chris Brooks come in. You utilize a guy like a big back like Chris Brooks. And
I agree with you, Mr. Polk. Yes,
Jason, I wanted your thoughts on Ethan Bonner.
He's another guy that could throw a whole wrench into the defensive backfield. This guy is fast as lightning, and he played well. I mean, no one really played well against the Chiefs, but, undrafted free agent, practice squad player, elevated late in the season, had to get thrown into Arrowhead. He could definitely make this team as a depth corner, and with this system, they're going to use and rotate a lot of defensive backs. So, yeah, Ethan Bonner, right now, you could pencil him in on the 53, but I'm not going to chisel him in with hardcore ink with my pen yet, but he has to lose the job. It's his job to lose. He's on the team right now. But if Storm Duck outplays him, let's see. But Ethan Bonner right now should be on the team. What
do you think about Bonner as safety?
You know what? I love his speed on the outside. And he's so fast as a corner that he could keep up with your 1s and 1A receivers in the AFC. I'd like to see a little bit more out of what they're going to do with Needham, what they have with Poyer before any other experiments at safety. I like Bonner as a corner. Let's keep it that way, but I would love to see if he has versatility.
Now we started talking about corners and safeties and stuff. Offense, I don't think we have any problems. Defense, being brand new, another defensive coordinator. Early in the year, we're going to have to win games 38-35, 32-28. The offense is going to have to put up points.
Yeah, because it can't be a repeat of the last 2 seasons.
Oh, no, I think the
Last 2
beginning of the
seasons
season is going to be a repeat where the offense carries the team and hopefully the defense catches up as the year goes on because you got a lot of new defensive players. You got a new defensive coordinator. So the offense, which stayed mostly intact, added a few pieces with now Beckham with the running back we took out of Tennessee. So
yeah,
right. The offense is going to have to put up points early in the year, and our road schedule is tough.
Yep,
The
we only have one
distribution-
team.
What's that,
Well-
Joe?
We only have one team that was a playoff team that we're playing at home. All the rest of our playoff teams are away, besides
It's-
Buffalo.
This is going to be
So that's
a weird
2.
schedule.
Well, I'm really interested to see how we do against Houston with the way they played last year and
Oh my
the
goodness.
play,
That is a
and
big
what they
game.
picked up.
They are scary.
Don't
I
sleep
am
on
scared.
Houston. Don't sleep on Houston. Please don't.
Houston's
sleep
a
on
primetime game
Do not.
candidate. I think there's
Well,
two
Absolutely.
non-divisional games that I think are tailor-made for an amazing Dolphins primetime game, and it's either CJ Stroud versus Tua. That could be a great Thursday night game. And to me, they're going to Lambeau Field. So I love the potential night game at Lambeau, Tua versus Jordan Love, bring back that class. Maybe you could throw in a San Francisco Niners home game as your Monday nighter. That could be a great game with McDaniel history and, of course, with the history that we birthed Brock Purdy. But this is going to be a tough schedule, everybody, because we have 9 road games, not 8. That's number one. They go out west twice. So they play the Rams, they play the Seahawks, and I would love to see when that Green Bay game is. Look, if it's October, great. If it's week 17, week 16, that's a snow game. If you're going to Cleveland, December 5th, December 7th, whenever the date is, that forget the snow game. That's a wind game. So Jason Sanders, sit down, because the distance is not the problem with Sanders. The wind will send that ball left, right, all over the place. That's his issue. So lake effect, snow, oof.
I think the wife and I are going to try and go to the Houston game because my sister-in-law lives out there.
And I'll be at the New England away game. I know that for a fact. So that could be a factor game too, because we got lucky last year. We got lucky week 2 Sunday night. It was beautiful.
Yes, we did.
I'm gonna tell you this personally. It was beautiful. The weather was excellent.
Never
So
been
when
to
I
New
tell-
England.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna tell you this. If you are a Dolphin fan, you need to go to the New England game. You need to.
That was the only one I haven't done.
Listen, we represented very well at Gillette Stadium. We
Well,
did.
I depending on the Houston game and depends on when it falls, what month it is, and everything. And same thing with the New England game up north. I am going to try to go to that one myself to be with Saul and Russell up there. And I mean these will actually be my first 2 regular season away games. I've only been to an away game on preseason, never a regular season away game. And the only 2 stadiums I've been to away has been Buccaneer Stadium and Jacksonville.
The puppy.
Yeah. If anybody has a boxer, you don't have space. He's right in my face. He's trying to bother it. I'm like, no, buddy. That's Roscoe.
What's up, Roscoe?
Say hi to
Well,
everybody.
Roscoe got 178 people watching. I want to thank everybody that's watching on all platforms. Please hit the like and thumbs up, please.
It goes the same with my blue healers. They're in bed. Of course, my female would be up in my lap, but she doesn't jump right now because she's like 55 out of 60 days pregnant.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, they're normally not here. They're my son's dogs, but he had to take his daughter down to Delaware, so we got the boys for the night. So he's climbing all over me.
Hey,
he loves Pop.
Spoiled dog.
He's a big spoiled boy.
Yeah, I get spoiled here.
They're here a lot because my son goes to work. He drops them off in the morning, and they stay at our house because my son doesn't have any yard, so they come over here. His brother's over there, but he's a boxer. You have no private space.
Right.
that's the blue healers. They follow you everywhere. They're up underneath your feet. You take a step, they're right there behind you. You don't even go to the bathroom alone.
Nope. This guy will follow you everywhere.
Well, they say pets help extend your life expectation.
Oh
Yeah,
I
I agree with that.
Yeah, no, because listen,
They
They're
make
great.
you happy. They make you
Right.
happy. They're great listeners because a lot of times they don't talk back. Once in a while they might get a little mouthy, but they don't talk back most of the time. They listen to you though, and you can tell them anything.
Yep. And then listen, there's an old joke that always says, "Put your dog and your wife in the trunk for 3 hours and open it up later. Which one's happy to see you?"
Exactly. Yep.
The dog is always happy to see you.
Like that.
The wife's going to want to kill you, but the dog's still going to be happy to see you.
Well, it's like with my blue healers. If I'm gone 5 minutes, it's been 5 hours to them.
Oh yeah, all dogs are like that.
Hey, John. One would be wagging his tail, the other one would be wagging their arm.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh my goodness.
I got to move because he won't stop laying on top of me.
Oh,
So,
Jason, what about Cam Smith?
He's got a big season, big training camp season, big OTA. Look, he needs to work. He needs to go to work. He's got talent. Can he fit in whatever Weaver's system is? Because if he was the least played in terms of snap count second rounder rookie from last year, which is not a very good thing to advertise. So hopefully he just gets a literal clean slate with Anthony Weaver, but he's on watch. He needs to perform.
Bringing up Coach Weaver, I've seen a lot of articles today where a lot of people talking about him where why didn't his previous head coach take him with him? Why didn't this one hire him? There's several people that have worked with him or close to him that didn't hire him. What do you think, Jason? Is there a reason behind that, or?
This is purely speculative. I'd like to think in this case, when you have a coach who is sought after, and I speak in this realm with a little bit of kind of relative experience. I used to be a recruiter, so all the time in life of negotiating contracts, my candidate, this client wants this job, there's competition. When a viable candidate has multiple offers, he has all the power in the world. And I think that's what happened with him. I think he had a number of choices, and Anthony Weaver wanted Miami. Miami wanted him. So after the interview process, and I know they interviewed a lot, but I do think at the end of the day, Miami wanted him bad enough where they put a good enough deal in front of him where Weaver made his selection, because he could have probably done 3 or 4 other choices. But I think this was a good, very good match made in coaching and coordinating heaven.
And after Fangio, you want somebody that wants to.
You want a player's coach, correct?
And you want somebody that wants to be in Miami.
Be here,
not
right?
Philadelphia.
Fangio was.
No offense, winners.
He was waiting to. That was the situation where he probably sat down, knowing that he was going to get fired. They said, "So this is going to be all right. Cool, see ya." a very
Right.
amicable, the easiest firing / quitting / this was a mistake, whatever. But Weaver's going to come in. This defense already loves him. This is a different mentality. It's like getting the fun biology professor in high school as opposed to the one that's going to put you to sleep. Wow, we're going to have fun learning. We're going to have fun going to class. That's Weaver as opposed to Vic Fangio. That's the difference. These guys are going to have fun doing their job. They're not going to dread doing their job.
Yeah, and a lot of people got to understand the NFL has changed over the years. If you're one of those tough guys who walks in screaming and yelling, you've already lost the young kids.
Correct.
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah.
They do not respond to that. It's just they were raised differently. They were brought up differently. A lot of them started in flag football long before they ever got to tackle football because, the parents didn't want them getting hurt when they were kids. So it was just, hey, go out and play the game, have a good time, enjoy it. As they progressed, they got better. And you're going to see a lot more of that. And I think that's one of the reasons a lot of these young coaches have success is because they're not yelling and screaming. They're not freaking out. Listen, I love Don Shula. Don Shula could not coach in today's game. Couldn't do it.
No.
The stories, yeah. No, go ahead.
Yeah, well, like the stories I've heard is that you weren't getting a water break until he thought everything was done right and everything. You'd go all day without a water break.
He would probably be thrown in CBA jail. Like the players would look at him and be like, "Are you effing nuts? 4 days?" Like, no. Like Shula would not be allowed right now.
Yeah, and Weaver falls into that younger, coaching style and getting to know their players more personally. Like if you listen to a lot of the old guys, they hated Shula until they left the game, and then they loved him.
Yeah, some of the best stories is Zonka. When you hear Zonka, whether it's on the fish tank, Johnny, I know you've heard plenty of these stories, personally. Like they hated each other because of how miserable Shula made them
feel,
get to being winners. But that's what happens. I mean, even when I was a kid, just reading about Shula, the metaphor of life is you never run inside the pylon. This is a man that would run like football players, but not run inside the corner of an NFL pylon because it's a metaphor to life. You always run outside it. You don't cut corners. And no one was cutting corners with Shula, and that's why the man took the team to 3 straight Super Bowls, was undefeated, won 2 in a row. But different age, different strokes, different folks. And give me a coach like Mike McDaniel who can curse, who could have fun, who could, get it.
Wasn't it 4 straight Super Bowls?
No, 3. They lost to Dallas, and then they won the next 2. They were the first team ever to go to 3.
Right.
Okay, I thought they went to the one after they lost.
No,
won the second.
Because then everybody left and went to the CFL after the second one.
Okay.
Right. They didn't get paid.
They could have made it. They lost in the playoffs, but no, they didn't make it to a 4th one. It was just 3.
Well, which young coach do y'all think started that trend?
I don't think it was the coaches that started the trend. I think it was the players. The players have changed so much over the years, the way they go through high school and college.
Something else to look for is the NIL crap that's coming in. These players
now
are
they
coming
get
in
paid
money.
millions. Right.
Yeah.
They already have their Ferrari coming into the league.
And a lot of these players, too, know. I mean, look, we're watching now. We saw a guy. How many guys got drafted this year whose dads played in the NFL? You know what I mean? So it's not like it's a big deal to them. You know what I mean? Like, does Marvin Harrison Jr. really think it's a big deal to play in the league? No, he's watched his dad play his whole league. This is life to him. This is just like if I became a teacher like my parents. That's just what I did. You know what I mean? Like, this is that simple. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. These guys are they're inserted. Right. I mean, you see it all over the place, and it's a different era. And Caleb Williams, how much money does he have? He hasn't even thrown a pass yet.
Right. And these kids, they make
demanding crazy stuff.
And that's the problem.
Real quick, Saul, who was the great grandson in that baseball video?
Was it Griffey?
No.
Oh, Bo
was it-
Jackson. Bo Jackson.
Bo Jackson's, yeah.
Bo
Bo
Jackson's
Jackson's great grandson. They showed him actually hitting a home run, and he's only what you'd say 7 or 8.
Yo, gone. Like
That
Oh
was
my
the
God,
greatest
and he was
athlete ever.
running. He was running. His great grandson hit a home run, but I think it was an infield home run.
because he was gone.
He was running. He's only like 8 years old. But he was talking his shit too as he hit that ball. I mean, bye. He ran a home run inside the field, home run. He was like 8 years old. It looked like, but the boy had some speed too.
Scary.
Bo Jackson, great grandson. If you can
Best
find the
athlete ever.
video, it's funny to watch, but he's got some speed.
What could have been?
And the other thing with these kids is, back in the 70s, 80s, they didn't talk as much about money. 90s, it started to get there. Early 2000s, these kids make so much money now that, they're not willing to go out there and play dinged up as much because, hey, this is a contract year. I'm a little dinged up. I'm going to sit down a game or two because if I play 15 out of the 17, I'm getting paid huge next year.
That's why I say, in a sense, you see more, quote, injuries, even though it's not necessarily injuries. They're just hurting, and they don't want to get injured, so they're not going to play this.
No, because they're going to lose millions.
It's very similar in comparison to load management in the NBA. I mean, I don't know if you guys are NBA fans from the 90s, 80s, load management? Rick Mahomes is going to take a day off because his knee hurt. Bill Laimbeer is going to say no thank you. Larry Bird no, these guys played flying coach.
Mm-hmm.
Milwaukee, Detroit, LA, Houston, New York. 5 games in 9 nights, no load management. So it's a different era. It's just different. Yeah.
And right now,
Brandon
we have
Rice,
load management
kids.
with the injured reserve list is our load management. And so a lot of times you see these injuries that happen that aren't really injuries. It's because we need to get a guy on to IR for 4 weeks so we can pull somebody else to make our 53-man roster work. I mean, we played the freaking IR like a freaking pro last year. I mean, really, if you think about it. So a lot of those injuries that you see are us playing the game.
I'll tell you what, they're going to play that game with Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb. You got your IR, you got your PUP. And with the Dolphins, when you have 57 players that could be on the 53, but 2 of them are going to be PUP'd, 1 of them is going to be IR'd. Now you could have 3 players make your 53, protect others, and then cross bridges when you get there. So, yes, Joe, you're right. The load management is going to definitely be an issue. And whoever said it in here, I think it was Joe again, it's the NBA's version of load management with the IR, the practice squad, and the new rules, because there's probably going to be more players allowed to a team, maybe 55, 56 if the NFL schedule goes to 18 games.
Yeah, if they go to 18, they have to add
I'm glad you brought that up, Jason, because I know there's talk about Goodall wants to go to 18 games and 2 preseason games. Do you think that's a possibility next year?
To tell you the truth, from a technical standpoint, it could be this year if they wanted to, and no one would care. I mean, the CBA, they don't have to agree on that. It's not going to happen, obviously, but hypothetically, they could say, you know what? We're playing it this way this year. But
it's like I've told people before. I said, we're playing the same amount of games now that we were back in the 70s.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Yep.
We had 14. We had 14 regular season games and 6 preseason games.
That's right.
Now it's 17 regular season games and 3 preseason games. Still 20 games.
I would say you make 2 preseason. In my perfect world, you have 2 preseason games. The first preseason game could be your, all right, we saw you guys. Thank you. We're cutting the rest of you. The next game could be your dress rehearsal, and then that next round after the second quarter of getting your scrubs in, get your third stringers in to fight for that last rung, and then you have 18 games. And that would be great. You have 2 bye weeks, throw international stuff in there, more players, and I'm very happy.
Right.
Two
because I was about to
bye
ask about
weeks.
the
I
roster.
think 2 bye weeks is a
Wide
definite.
absolutely
You,
necessary.
you need it. There's you cannot justify, no matter what your math is, 10, 11 straight weeks, knowing you have the playoffs, knowing you just had a half a season. What if your bye week's 3? What if your bye week's 9? You have way too much time. You have to have 2 bye weeks. Have to.
Well, no, I think they would go to 2 because he's talking about the Super Bowl would be the Sunday, what is it, right before President's Day. So everybody would be off on Monday anyway, which for us NFL fans would be great. Don't have to get up and go to work Monday when the game ends at 11:30 at night.
Anybody who has a government job really is off because there's a lot of places that are open still on President's Day. They don't give a damn.
The kids are home. Schools are closed. You got a lot of people. Look, it would soften the blow, which is the counterproduction of Monday after the Super Bowl, getting into work at 8:30, 9 o'clock a.m.
8:30, 9 o'clock. Shit, I go for 6:30.
You know what I'm saying?
It would
Would that
soften the
also-
blow on the businesses that lose money from all the people calling out sick and stuff.
Right. And you know
That's
what?
what I'm about to
You
mention.
be creative about it in this world that we live in. You be creative about what you could do from a business standpoint on that Monday off from a retail, online, all this virtual crap that's going on. Send the Super Bowl winner to meet the president on President's Day. Wouldn't that be a fun little opportunity?
Yeah, any of that. Yeah, there's a lot of things they can do with it, twists and turns, and
Increase the roster.
Yeah, but they got to
They
increase
definitely
it.
need to
Listen,
increase the
What
roster.
about this? What about this that I've been
Absolutely.
saying? I know there's a lot of red tape to this. You know what I would love to see? Bring back the 8th round. Let's get one more. Let's get 32 more names called. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
but
saying?
If you have an expanded roster and expanded draft right along with it, does make sense.
The only
you
problem
expand the
with that,
roster.
yes, the only problem with that is if you ask a lot of undrafted players, like let's say you were expecting to go in the 7th round, you were getting the calls as a player. Yeah, we're thinking of you at 250. We're thinking of you, and you don't get the call. A lot of players be like, all right, great. Now I could pick anywhere I want to go of the teams that would have me. You become a little bit of a free agent immediately. So
There's players
people-
that don't even pick at 7. They don't even answer the phone. If a team calls them at 7, they don't answer the phone. They're like, I got a better offer as a free agent to go to any team I want to go to and make
theoretically,
an
theoretically
exact
dead on.
contract. Exactly.
Yeah, but you know what? To me, if it would be very interesting to me if you survey 7th rounders and undrafted free agents, if they would be happy where they were drafted and got their name called, if they would have rather been the free agent, or you asked that free agent, I would have
you're
really
right.
liked. I
Being
really love to have
drafted
been my name
matters.
called. Being drafted matters. Every one of these kids that don't get drafted, most likely, had the party, had people at the house, had the call day 2. You're on our board. It's pick 115. If Seattle doesn't take you, we're taking you. But something else happens, and then no team needs that guy, and then it's 270, 278. He's not Mr. Irrelevant. It's horrible, So give me an 8th round. I'm a happy guy.
Yeah, go to
I mean-
60-man roster and 8 rounds.
Amen.
60 or even 63-man roster. Go up 10 more.
I'll tell you with
Right. Even if they have to pull off the practice squad.
Because if you're
Bingo.
going,
Because right now the practice squad's kind
Too
of an
much.
extension, if you just kind of just split.
But-
Okay, people are using the practice squad as a roster now, so let's just conform it to reality a little bit.
And it's great to
Ooh,
hook
I
up
like that
because
hookup,
you know
yeah.
what it does that too. And with some new rules, it creates specialists. Like you could have a guy whose sole job is to return this new kickoff structure. That's the only thing he's going to do because you don't have to make that your wide receiver 5 or 6. You know what I mean? Like that dual job. Like this guy, his only job is to return not punts and kicks, a kickoff. And that's it. You'll never see him again.
if they expand to 18 games, you really need to expand the roster, especially with the injuries they're having these days.
Well, we all said that when they went to 17 and they didn't do nothing.
Yeah,
Because
look at what we're seeing.
that would admit that they have injuries, and that's the problem with it. If they expand the roster because of that, then they're kind of admitting they have an injury problem. But how can you not admit it when it's all like right there in the stats? You know what I mean?
I'll tell
It's
you.
in the stats. It's all over the news. It's all over the podcasts and talk shows. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, any city that has a football team, part of their sports broadcasting on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is their injury report.
Yeah.
It's a huge.
Yep.
It's and even like for like us, like waiting as fans, it's like you're waiting for that injury report on Thursday, and it's like, what are we going to see? What are we going to see? And then on Friday, who's better? Who's better? It's a big deal, and it's so different from the NBA because the NBA, yes, it's not a contact sport, but it is. But NBA players are playing well into the 30s. They're playing while they're going bald. NFL players have 3 to 9 years at best on average. Like 4 years on average. So it would be better to get more players where you don't necessarily need a load management. But if Teron Armstead needs to take a breather for 2 games because he needs to just take a breather and there's a viable option, so situations like that, it works for me.
Well, here, Roger Goodell, if you happen to see this, go to 63-man rosters, or 65, get rid of the practice squad, but every team has to announce 5 healthy scratches before every game.
Oh, that's perfect. Right.
It makes complete sense.
Absolutely. The game day roster could have
complete
7
sense.
cuts if needed.
Right.
And then those.
Absolutely, John. That's a great point.
And if, of course, you cut a guy, doesn't get activated, maybe he hits the waivers if there's a rule just to create that sort of, importance of it. But I agree. As long as there's more players that are allowed to be on a team and eligible, however you slice it, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, listen, guys get hurt. It happens. They get hurt mid-game, first quarter. Aaron Rodgers, 4 plays, he's done for the year.
Yeah.
Things happen. And then if you have an expanded roster, instead of having 53 on the field, maybe you got 58. Maybe we don't lose Chubb at the end of the Baltimore game because you have extra guys standing there you can throw out there because you're getting blown out or blowing somebody out. You're not having your starters out there. You could put these third-string guys in there. Hey, go finish the game. Play the last 10 minutes. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, because he should have been snatched out that game long before.
Oh, that was a nightmare. I was right there. I was at that game. That was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Seeing that, just asking before the play, we're all looking at ourselves like, why is he on? Oh, God,
we said it the drive before that.
Right. I mean, it was like you bring them out. Just bring them out. You lost. Wave the white flag. Do not put anything of value on that field.
Right.
Raphael said he would rather add more teams. Trust me, that's coming too. You're going to have international teams.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Shortly.
Can I say something on international games? They should have, if we go to 18 schedule, then we're still going to have 8 home teams. We're going to have, or 9, and that'll alternate. And every team should have a international game that's combined with the second bye week. So we have to add an international game and a bye week to handle the international game, right? Because they want international games. They're going to add them everywhere. If we can get Spain or something like that, if we can get something in Central America or something or like Brazil or something where our
they're doing Brazil this year.
Yeah, if we can hit that and not have our time zone all whacked out, but still be able to get international game. But I think if every team should have an international game. The team that have an international game is a total disadvantage, and it's just not right. So if they go to 18, it's just that's part of the deal. Has to be every team is an international.
And I think you give you get one bye week, and one of those bye weeks falls after your mandatory international.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
So not only that, it's it's almost like you want it because then you could deal with what you have to do. Okay, great. I'm going on a business vacation, playing a football game, doing all that the NFL wants me to do. But now I'm going to have another week off, play some more football, then have another week off where I don't have the international travel. So I think there's wins all around. And from a money and marketing standpoint, do we have to even guesstimate how much billions of dollars of extra revenue it's going to bring in? It's ridiculous. And yes, new teams are coming. My guess, to play on your point, if you want to look at international and time zone, Mexico City, Vancouver, Toronto, if you want to stay in state, there are cities who would love to have an NFL team. So, yeah, that's coming too.
No, I think if they do any more NFL teams, they're all going to be out of country.
Out of the country.
I think you're going to see Mexico City. You're going to see a
Yeah.
German team, a UK
Yep.
team, and the way they're going to work it is, let's say the UK team opens up at home. Their first 2 or 3 games will be at home. Then they'll fly to the States, play the next 3 or 4 games. Then they'll go home for 2 or 3 games. Then they'll come back. So they're going to try to limit the travel where it's not going to be home away, home away. They're going to have 2 or 3 games at home, 2 or 3 games in the States. And
Kind of
they're
like
gonna do
how.
Now,
Yeah.
also, wouldn't that open opportunities for the youth for UFDAs to go over and play in another country and kind of
Well,
develop?
No, because those are going to be NFL teams. We're going to see NFL teams in
Right,
other
it'll be
countries.
even across the board there.
Yeah, if anything, there'll be 8 more
Right.
teams added for NFC, for AFC. It would be, in a sense, but they'd be over in, most of them would probably be over in the UK, in Germany, France, Scotland, England, all around there. Most of them would be over that away. You might have one in South America, one in Mexico.
We'll be waking up early. I'll tell you that over and over again.
Well, I mean,
the NFL wants you to.
Look at all the German fans that wake up early or stay up extra late to watch our games.
And just
I
look at
start
the extra
drinking beer at
progression
9
too.
a.m. just to practice.
There you go. Just look at the extra. The flag football is going to be an Olympic sport. So,
well, actually, it's funny you bring that up because this weekend, the girls' high school 2A state championship flag football is being played at Buck Stadium.
Oh, wow!
Friday and Saturday, yes.
There you go. I mean, my oldest is in flag football. He's 12. I love it. I love the fact that there's now going to be that Olympic presence, but it only just says that this is a global game, much like 30 years ago. That's what David Stern's dream was in the NBA, a global game. And now you arguably could say that 5 guys from what used to be Yugoslavia could dominate the world if you put them on the court together. A non-country used to be a country could have dominated 5 best basketball players from America.
It's funny. I live in Hernando County, and it's Pasco County, I think, that's right beside us. They are the only county around us that does not have or allow a girls' flag football in the schools.
Wow.
And there's been arguments trying to get it. All the other counties around them have girls' flag football. And there's been a lot of arguments, families trying to get them to let it in and everything. But the fact that they're having the 2A high school or 2A high school girls flag football state championships at Buck Stadium is something else. That's telling you, that's just telling you how things are moving along these days.
Oh, yeah. Flag football is huge. It's the 3rd fastest growing sport in America.
I love it.
Yeah, and it goes far back because I used to play flag football when I was a kid, so it goes far back.
Oh yeah, but it wasn't as popular. It's become a lot more popular because the parents don't want their kids getting injuries, so they'd rather have them play flag than contact.
Well, see, I started. I think I was, 7 when I started flag football. In school, as part of a school program. I was elementary school playing flag football. I was 7 years old, and that's going back to early 70s.
Yeah, same here, Papa Paul.
Yeah, but you played at your school. You didn't play other schools, right?
No, we played
other schools. It was part of the physical education program,
right?
Yeah,
like dodgeball, kind of.
Yeah, we did the same thing. We played flag football at school, but now they play. I know Monmouth County, where I live in New Jersey. I think just about every high school has a girls' flag football team.
That's fantastic. It's funny, planning Mother's Day, and happy Mother's Day to everyone out there celebrating.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day, ladies.
So please, all moms out there, my mom as well. But I'm going to visit my brother, and I'm here in Pennsylvania. Going to see him at Long Island, and he basically just said, because the whole family's going over his house. So he sends a message to the family today. Guys, I'm really sorry. Hadley, my niece, she's like 7 years old. she's got her flag football playoff, and it's right when we schedule the time. And can you guys all come? Are you kidding? Let's go! We're all going. So like, we can't wait. It's my niece's flag football playoff that she's super jazzed about. The only problem, she's the Jets. She's on the Jets, folks. Come on. So I told my brother I'm not wearing any Jet gear, but you know.
Well, something that Raphael brought up, hooked up Joe was talking about, Canada. Would Canada be part of the expansion?
Oh, it most definitely could be because football is big in Canada.
Yeah, they
yeah.
do have the
You talking about
Canadian
Canadian
Football
Football
League,
League?
but do they have?
I mean,
They'd have to have like two. They'd have to have Toronto.
Toronto and
Because that's
Vancouver.
So close, right? You got to have the close ones. You can't go way out into BFE,
No.
or frozen
No.
land.
No,
I mean, you could have like
understand that.
Winnipeg is not far. Like Winnipeg's like
I've never really watched Canada football before. I don't get it on any of the channels I've seen. Is there rules basically identical to NFL, or is there?
No.
yeah, a couple of the field's
There's
different. The
There's
field's
differences.
is
The end zone is
20-yard
20.
end zone.
Yeah, the end zone's 20 yards. You can have a receiver running towards the line of scrimmage. They just can't cross before the ball snapped, but they're at full speed by the time the ball
Yeah.
is snapped.
Right.
So, you know, there are some things in
There's
the game that
nuance.
are different. And it's actually, if you ever get a chance to watch it, their games, for the most part, are more high scoring than ours because of the bigger field, the receiver running towards the line at full speed when it's snapped. And so now the corner has to be backing up and moving before the ball's ever snapped, because if he's not, the receiver runs right past him. The end zone is 20 yards deep. So it's a lot of yards to cover.
I think the width of the field too is wider.
And at the same time, all those Canadian football players, if they're on a Canadian football team, would have to learn all the new rules and stuff, is what I was getting at.
No.
Like going from snooker to billiards.
Yeah, we wouldn't be taking away from their teams because Cam Wake came from the Canadian Football League, but
exactly.
Yeah, I remember that. I know that. I'm just saying that the Canadian football players that have been playing up there, if they're on a Canadian football team that is now part of the NFL,
no, they wouldn't.
No,
No,
they wouldn't.
No.
They
It would be an
stay
expanded
separate.
team.
Right. We would
Yeah,
have
right.
totally new teams. It would be just like every expansion team that's ever happened, where you get players from other people and you get draft and all that. Other
The
kind of stuff.
Toronto Argonauts would stay the Toronto Argonauts in the CFL. They wouldn't move
Right.
to the NFL.
Exactly.
Right. They're
It would
not
be a
gonna
completely
absorb them.
different. Right. Just like
Right.
if they would have to
See,
obviously
I-
do two teams. If they do two
I may
teams,
be old, but I don't know everything because I don't never seen Canadian football before. So
yeah, no, it would almost be like the CFL pretended it never existed. It still does. They're still doing their thing, but the NFL is bringing its presence to either Toronto or Vancouver and you know, it would create an expansion team,
Yeah.
much like if you go back when the
back to
Texans.
1976 with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, even when back when what two teams came in together? It was the Panthers and the
Jacksonville and
Jaguars.
Carolina, yeah.
Yeah, that was also a fun. I
Okay, I got a
expansion
question.
drafts are fun. Those can be fun.
Go ahead, Joe.
What about how the other league, the XFL, is merging with USFL and the XFL? They're merging
The
together.
UFL.
And-
UFL. It's called UFL now.
And if that was on regular network TV where I could just tap into it, because I'd cut off cable a long time ago, I'd watch that stuff every freaking
Oh, it
game.
is. It is on
And-
Saturday and
watch it.
Sundays. It's on local
Yeah.
CBS, NBC,
Oh,
Fox,
okay,
whatever
good.
it is.
For
Yeah.
example, Birmingham has one of the best teams in the UFL as of right now.
I love that
but-
stuff.
And also Canadian football. If you get a chance to watch the CFL, it's good to watch also.
Yeah, it's
If
pretty
they-
exciting.
If they had
Yeah, it's
flag
exciting.
football at the professional level during the off season, would you watch that? If they had the same types, like if they scheduled it and they had it on broadcast and teams, would you be watching like after the year ends? Would
Should
you
I-
in the off season? Would
Joe,
you
I
watch
sit
that?
here and watch the UFL on Saturday and Sundays because it's football.
Same
Right.
here. I love
Right.
football, period.
My biggest problem is I'm not a big TV person. I want to see them in person. I don't
Right,
watch
I'd want a local
hardly. I
team.
don't watch any sports on TV except for when the Dolphins are playing.
Yeah,
I
same
mean,
here.
I've been
pretty
a
much.
Dolphins fan for 50 years plus. They're the only thing. The only time I watch any other sports on TV is playoff games, hockey, basketball, baseball. But it's got to be the playoffs. I don't watch any regular season games on TV unless it's the Miami Dolphins and I'm not at the game.
With me, I watch Pop Warner football all the way up to the pros. I just love football. Period. College, like I said, Pop Warner, the pros, Canadian football, UFL. I even used to watch the arena football.
Yeah.
So that's how much I love football. I just love football.
Now,
Period.
I would watch football or on TV or a lot of these sports if there was no commercials.
Oh, that's the
That's
killer
where
for
I
me.
get
Just the
lost.
commercial.
Once the commercials start, I'm like, okay, and then my mind's distracted because my wife will
Oh
tell
no.
you I have the worst squirrel syndrome.
Oh no. Here's Papa Paul. Here's the remedy for that. I mean, this is what I do on when we come down to the college football because there's so many on. If I'm watching one game and they go to a commercial, I flip to the other game and watch that a little bit.
And
I mean,
I
I know
do
it's
do
kind of
that.
difficult,
I
but
do that once in a while. If I start watching football on TV, I will switch back and forth. That's the only thing that
mm,
keeps me watching the other games and stuff.
Oh,
yeah,
college
'cause
football. That's great. Yeah, I mean, I can on a Saturday, I can put on channel 2. The game's getting on hand. I'll go to 4. I'll go to 5. I'll go to 7, and
that's what
just
I be
watch
doing.
different games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I can do it that way because the commercials just lose me.
Well, years to me back in the 70s, we didn't really have as many commercials as we do
No,
today.
you didn't.
Just
But
just
it's
watching
all about the money now. So there's a
right.
lot more commercials and yeah, and the whole thing. It's just like I mean, a lot of us would watch the Super Bowl game for the commercials, but the commercials haven't been that great in the past few years.
The
No.
last 3 years, they've all sucked.
You
Yeah,
know,
good.
Maybe one.
I miss a lot of those good Budweiser commercials.
Yeah, with the singing frogs and yeah,
Well,
yeah.
do any of y'all remember? It was way back when, where they had the Budweiser commercial with the parachuters.
Yeah, I remember that.
They had the 3 parachuters jump,
Yeah.
and
John.
I might
Yeah.
have missed that one.
yeah, I have a cousin of mine who was part of that. He was in the Air Force, and he jumps, and he's made a couple thousand jumps easily, probably. But he was in the Air Force flying. He has his own business doing gliders and stuff now.
But
But yeah,
I
that
gotta ask
I
you a
always
question.
remember that commercial because of him and stuff.
Mhm.
But like yeah, the frogs where it was Budweiser.
Right.
That was the best. That was the best one. That was my favorite
Uh,
football commercial of all time.
Yeah, a lot of the buds were the Clydesdale with the kicking the
Oh, that's classic.
Yeah, kicking the
That's
field
kicking the
goal.
field
Yeah,
goal.
classic.
yeah. The Budweiser has always had some of the best ones. Yes,
Yeah.
This
But
year they kind of went throwback and brought the Clydesdales back, but the commercial wasn't that good.
No, of course, stunk. Yeah.
yep.
All right, guys, it's that
Yeah.
time of night.
I think
Yeah,
we're
we
all
love
gonna,
it.
we're
Yeah,
gonna
when we're talking
go
about
around.
flag football, it's about that.
Well,
Flag football. Hey, give it a couple of
Hey,
years.
Don't joke.
hey,
Come on.
No, I'm a flag football proponent, actually.
I actually can't make it to the game this weekend because Friday I just got stuff around here to do, and then Saturday I'm serving pulled pork sandwiches at the Humane Society for a ribbon cutting ceremony they're having and stuff. So that's all donated by WCFL Helping Hands and all. But I would have gone if I would have gone to the flag football just to watch it, you know, in the Buck Stadium and just to be there and watch it because it's football, you know, and it's live action right there, you know. It's not you don't have to deal with all the commercials and everything. But let's go ahead and start with you, Hooked Up Joe. Any last words or comments?
No, man, I just wanted to say thank you for doing your Wednesday thing, and I was looking forward to Wednesday this week. And thanks for everything you do in the streaming world and all of you. And fins up.
Appreciate
Well, we
you.
appreciate you, Joe.
We appreciate you watching
Have a
us.
great
joining
night,
us,
Joe.
and
Peace,
Listen,
love, and fins
you
up.
have a good night.
Joe.
Peace, love, and
Hey,
fins up,
Joe, I
brother.
see you on another platform, Joe.
You know it.
Good night.
All right now.
Mr. Polk.
It was, like I said, it was great coming up here, hanging out with you guys. Jason, it was good to see. The last time I seen you was with Stephen D. But anyway, it was great coming up here and talking about the greatest team on earth to me, our Miami Dolphins. So thanks. Oh, one mention, Dolphin Winters, just this little thing. Before there was a Miami Heat, I was a Philadelphia 76ers fan and still am. So just a little food for thought there.
I hear you. I don't know how much that's worth, but I hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Polk. As always, you know you're more than welcome to join us every week, and look forward to seeing you next week, sir. You have a great night and a
Peace,
blessed
love, and
week.
fins up.
Peace, love, and
Peace,
fins
love,
up.
See you all.
Take care now.
Thank you.
Y'all take it easy. Be safe.
You
You
too.
too.
Good night.
All right now.
Now, talking about Stephen D, we need to do a show where we have Stephen D, Jason, and a couple of other podcasters and stuff on. That would make a fabulous show. Jason and Stephen D together on one show would be hilarious. You know, we know how these guys are together. And
Absolutely.
any last
That's my
words,
dude.
Jason?
Oh, you guys are awesome. I love spending time with you, whether it's 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional. We got to do it more often, whether it's home games, tailgatings, away games, just fun Dolphin stuff. This is the best community in sports. I love our team. I love our community. Thank you, gentlemen, for having me. I had a blast tonight.
Jason,
you,
thanks for
sir.
being here, brother. Love you.
Before you leave, I want to let everybody who's listening right now, because there's over 200 people right now watching and listening. Don't know when or if actually, but there's a good possibility we will have a big announcement as WCFL DolFans Talk. Something I'm working on, and we're keeping our fingers crossed. But just look forward in the future for some big announcements from us. So you have a wonderful night, brother, and you're more than welcome to join us any Wednesday night we're on or any of our special shows. You have a great night. God bless you. Peace, love, and fins up, brother.
Peace up,
Love you,
Jason.
Jason.
Fins up, guys. Thank you so much.
Mr. Johnny O.
I met Jason a year and a half or so ago. Not a quiet guy, but he's definitely opened up a lot more since he got on the platforms, and he's great at research. He knows his stuff. It's always good to have him on a show. Mr. Polk's point for you, Mr. Winters, I grew up a Sixers fan in Connecticut. Dr. J, Moses Malone, Charles Barkley. Barkley went to Phoenix, started following Phoenix. The NBA got soft, and I turned the damn TV off. So I barely ever watch it anymore.
I'm not mad at you.
I'll tell you, the only basketball team I ever really supported, and that was the Celtics with Larry Bird, Parrish.
I grew up in Connecticut, but I was still a Sixers fan.
I appreciate that, John.
I just loved Larry Bird, watching him play.
I love Dr. J punching Larry Bird in the nose and breaking his nose.
That was my guy, Dr. J, and then Moses Malone got there, then Charles Barkley got there.
But I just don't really stick with it or anything, so it is what it is.
Well, when Barkley left and went to Phoenix, I started watching Phoenix with KJ and those guys. Yeah, those
Oh,
guys,
yeah.
and they made the finals against Chicago and lost. But I followed Barkley instead of the team because at that point there was really nobody on the Sixers that I had really gravitated to like I did with Barkley.
Right.
And then when he retired, and I tried to watch the NBA, and it just got softer and softer and softer. And I'm like, you know, LeBron takes a fingernail to the back of the head, and he's grabbing his head like somebody shot him with a 45. Get the hell out of
yeah.
here! Play
I see you.
basketball, goddamn it!
I see you over there, Mr. Polk, saying "Yuck, Celtics." But it just with Larry Bird, Parrish, and McHale. I mean,
No, it's a great team.
Since then, the Celtics haven't really done a whole lot.
Well, they won. They won the one championship with Pierce on the team and those guys. So I mean, no, it's. I'll still watch a little playoff basketball.
They haven't been a consistent team like they were back then.
Well, nobody is. I mean, you know, listen, the Celtics won a ton of championships in the '60s, and you know, it took till the '80s to win more when Bird and them got there, and they won what 3 more, but they had the Lakers to contend with, and then the Pistons, and then the Bulls.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah, I know. I loved watching Jordan play.
yeah,
Love watching Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I wasn't a Bulls fan, but I enjoyed watching Pippen and Jordan together. And
that was crazy. Damn times.
Yeah.
That was just.
Oh yeah, exactly.
You know, now the game just for me, I'd rather watch college basketball. Those kids are still playing for something. You know, they're still playing their hearts out. They don't bitch and cry. They're not looking at the refs constantly. But the NFL is still the best sport there is, and the Dolphins are still the best team there is. So, with that said, gents,
peace, love, fins up.
Fins up.
Fins up, my brother.
Take care,
Have a good
brother.
night.
Oh damn! Well, I was about to say, sheesh.
No, I was trying to. John clicked himself out, and he clicked himself out when I hit it. He had left, and you had moved over, so I'm hitting you out.
Oh man, I just want to thank everybody that tuned in from every platform tonight. I want to thank Jason Sarney again from DolphinsTalk.com to Crazy Dolphin, Hooked Up Joe, John O'Hallen,
Take money.
Take Money, and am I forgetting anybody? No, and yourself, sir. Of course.
Well, I appreciate it. You do so much work for this show, Saul, and we love you. I appreciate you.
Love you, Saul.
Thank you, Nancy. Love you.
He said thank you, and he loves you too. We love you. You're a true family to us. That's why I check on you all the time, as much as I can.
Vice versa.
And I appreciate all you do for us. I appreciate everybody watching us, listening to us, joining in with us. Y'all just have a wonderful night, and God bless each and everyone, and have a blessed weekend coming up. Peace, love, and fins up, everybody.
Fins up, folks.
We'll talk to y'all later.